Hi, my name is Tara Agne. I'm a master's in secondary education student with a concentration in social studies. And for my second disposition, I read the book The Freedom Writer's Diary by Erin Gruelle and her students. Erin started out as a teacher in Long Beach, California, in a high school that had a very high low income population and a lot of minorities and immigrants in the school. And she was very enthusiastic and bright-eyed and naive, and she had the idea that she was going to go in and change these students' lives, and teach them a lot of things, and really inspire them to learn. She was an English teacher, so she wanted to share great literature with them. And as soon as she started hitting roadblocks. There were two roadblocks that she encountered. The first was with the students themselves. The students had a high level of distrust for teachers. They also had a high level of distrust for each other. All of the different racial and ethnic and economic groups in the school distrusted each other. They actually segregated themselves from each other, and there was a very adversarial relationship with all the students. So they were they were against learning. They weren't open to Erin. They thought she was just another white teacher who was going to try to save them and fail, and she wasn't really in it for the long haul with them and didn't believe them. So for a long time, they were resistant to her teaching efforts. Her second roadblock was with the school administration. They didn't want to put any time or resources into the students because they didn't think that they had the capacity to learn or to succeed. And they were pretty much just trying to get them through and out of their school. They thought they were all behavioral issues and caused problems. So they would not support Erin. They also wouldn't allocate resources. Erin wanted to get them books, and they didn't think that the students would or could read the books, and they didn't deserve them. So Erin dug in and she began to fight. She realized when she started talking to the students that one of the problems was they were all suffering from trauma and a high level of distrust. In the neighborhoods that they lived, they dealt with a lot of gang violence. A lot of their friends had died. They dealt with poverty. They dealt with abuse. They dealt with addiction. And they dealt with bad relationships. Some of them had immigrant parents. Some of them were illegal themselves. And so they had a lot of different stresses in their lives. And Erin realized that she had to figure out a way, A, to bond with the students, but B, to help the students bond with each other and realize that there was more to life than what they were experiencing. So she had the idea to have them start writing in diaries. For two reasons. One, I think she thought it was going to be therapeutic for them. And two, she thought that it would help her understand them better. And when she started to read the diaries, she realized what the kids were going through. And when I started reading the diary entries, I was really affected. There were these themes of horrible violence and just paranoia that any of those students was next to be killed, that they weren't even going to live through high school. Their neighborhoods sounded like war zones. It sounded like a war in another country, like World War II, the way they described it. They all felt like they needed protection, like they needed to own guns or weapons. And that they were the only ones who were going to take care of themselves. And there was also this theme of sort of tribalism and an us against them mentality. All the different various groups, from the Asian groups to the Hispanic groups to the African Americans, they all felt like they were enemies of each other, and they really just had to protect their own. Once Erin started to read this, she had the idea of a way to help the students see beyond their prejudices and their hatred. She decided to use books from the Holocaust and from the Bosnian War to help them see how hatred and prejudice could cause horrible things to happen in the world. So she had them read the Diary of Anne Frank and Zlata's Diary, and they started to realize, they started to get a greater perspective. And Erin started to help the students connect with each other through her activities and through her reading. She also got extra jobs to generate money to take them to lectures, to museums, to different activities, so they could see that there was a world beyond their neighborhood that they could connect with and to get a bigger perspective on the world. This helped the students bond, and then they actually started first with bringing Meep, who helped Anne Frank hide for so long, and then connecting with Zlata. They started to participate in these activities that actually created positivity in their communities and within their class. They started to bond with each other, they became a family, and they actually proved to the school administration ultimately that they could succeed. And many of them went on to college with Erin's help. So what Erin Gruel demonstrated is the epitome of culturally responsive teaching. She figured out who her students were, what they needed, the horrible things that they had experienced, and she figured out a way to connect with them, help them connect with each other, and help them begin to succeed both academically and personally, and put them on the road to college. And she fought very hard to get the administration to work with these students because they were being ignored up until that point. So it was a huge effort. I have a lot of respect for what Erin Gruel did in this book, for what she was able to accomplish with the students. I think it's amazing. I think it's a great example when teachers believe in students and when they teach to them where they are and try to meet them where they are and help them and relate to them, the success that they can accomplish. The only negative that I saw to the book is she put forth a huge personal effort to make a difference in the students' lives. I think there are a lot of good lessons from it, but also it's something that's not easy for a typical teacher who has a family and other things going on in their lives to accomplish. Erin pretty much dedicated her life to these students to the point that she was taking extra jobs just to support her efforts with the students. So it would be good to see how you could pare down what she did in a way that's more realistic for a typical teacher. But it was inspiring what she did with the students and how she changed their lives. And I think it was a good example of how teachers can change lives. And she literally changed all those students' lives and put them on a path that they never would have been on without her.